Hello everybody, welcome to this week's In My Mug, episode 604, and this week we're off to Bolivia. So I said in the intro, we're off to Bolivia and we're off to a specific farm which is La Linda, which is based in the Agronomy region of Bolivia, somewhere we buy a heap of coffee from. We have a heap of friends who have farms there. This one comes from the people that own the mill, the Rodriguez family, and as a very special treat, instead of me talking about the coffee and the farm and things, we thought in these times, wouldn't it be nice to get insight into how COVID is affecting the producers back home in their home countries, and the challenges, particularly for a country like Bolivia, which is just starting to see the very beginnings of its harvest and the challenges it's posing. And then after that, we'll get virtual Steve to take us through all of the bits on the farm. So I am joined by Daniela Rodriguez from I think it's now, like, you are the only coffee producers known in the world for Bolivia, and or helping other coffee producers with the mill. Just such a name synonymous with quality and Bolivian coffee. Thank you for joining. How are you? How are things in Santa Cruz there?
Hi, Steve. Yeah, we are in Santa Cruz right now. We are locked down, very strict, by almost more than 70 days. Here the quarantine is very strict. We cannot go out. Just once day per week, depends on the last number of your ID. For example, I can only go out on Fridays and only in the morning.
Wow.
We are allowed to go to the supermarket and pharmacies that are open from 7 to 12. And if people go out in the day that they are not allowed, you have to pay a fine of $200, and they will take you to jail or to a room that you have to stay there for 8 hours. So there are not international flights, there are not national flights. My family, Los Rodriguez, we are in Santa Cruz, and we cannot go to the farms in Caranavi, in La Paz, because all the roads are closed. There are not flights. But we went 2 weeks ago to the farms in Santa Cruz, in Samipata, after being locked for 2 months. And the harvest is starting now in Bolivia. We are almost 10% of the harvest.
Wow.
We started first with Caranavi, with the low parts. For example, Finca La Linda is producing right now.
Yeah.
We are picking all the Caturra and the Java. The Javas are the first varieties that are starting to mature. And the coffees, they don't know anything about the virus. The plants look amazing. They are super healthy. They are on time. The weather is helping a lot. And
Daniela, how does it go with the harvest starting now? And obviously the coffee plants don't know that Corona's going on. How is it about getting people to be able to pick and work for you? Are you still able to get access to, I know you have a lot of people from the local community kind of doing some of the work, but it must be really difficult to get all of the help that you need, because I know sometimes you've had to bring in people to help at the busier times.
Yeah, Caranavi is in quarantine too, but they have been encapsulated, so nobody can get in and out.
Yeah.
At the beginning, we started concentrating all the harvest in Finca Alacitas, that is the biggest farm,
yeah,
and drying the cherries there. So we have to establish some raised beds at the farms. And the producers also de la mañana started delivery their cherry at the farms, because the farms are 40 minutes away from our wet mill. So in Bolivia, logistics are super complicated. We don't have very good roads, and even though the distance are very short, it takes a lot of time to get into the places. So we have concentrated the harvest there, and after 2 days with bigger volumes, we were bringing to the wet mill. By now, we got some permissions for the producers, because you need a permission to go, like to drive or to be out of your place. So we got the permissions for the producers, and now they are delivering the coffee to the wet mill every night, or at least twice. One day yes, one day not.
Yeah. And
for the workers, is hard. We are just working with the people that are very close, that they have been working with us for a long time. We are not hiring more people in order to take care of all the workers that are part of the company. And the main issue for us is pickers. We, as AgriCafe, we work with 500 people during the harvest. So it's a lot of people, and they are almost concentrated. From the 500, 400 are pickers. We work with more than 200 pickers in Caranavi and another 200 in Samaipata. And talking about Caranavi, what we are doing is we have two groups. One group are the pickers that are our neighbors that live close to our farms, and the other group are the people that live in the town of Caranavi. So we are gonna do different groups so they don't mix the groups.
Yeah.
In some cases, we are just gonna make, for example, in one lot, that lot just pick one family. Because here in Bolivia, picking is a family thing.
Yeah.
It goes the mother, the father, all together to pick the harvest, and at the end of the day, we weigh the harvest. And in case of Samaipata, that is more difficult. Samaipata is not a coffee region.
Yeah.
So many of the pickers, they live in different cities like Cochabamba and Sucre, and they cannot come here because the roads are closed. So what we are gonna do is we are building some camps in the farms so they can stay at the farms. And we are giving everything. We have to give like the food, we have to give everything in order they don't go out to the town and buy the things, and they just stay in that place and they don't get contaminated with anything, with the people, with that.
Logistically, that must be very difficult, though. Like pulling all of that together at such short notice, being able to have people to cook food, people to build the camps, having toilets, and all of the things like that must be a real challenge.
Yeah, it is, and for us the main harvest is July and August. Mm-hmm. So we are very nervous about those times, that what will happen here in Bolivia, because the main issue here in Bolivia is the care system. It's very basic. Yeah. Now we have only 11,000 cases, but in Santa Cruz, for example, the health system has already collapsed with 6,000 cases. There are not more beds. There are not enough doctors. Yeah. In case of Caranavi and Samaipata, the hospitals, they don't have ventilators at all.
You were telling me
Bolivia.
a statistic when we spoke a few weeks ago about, I think there was like a few hundred ventilators in the whole of Bolivia for 8-9 million population.
Yeah, there are 200 health units for 12 million people.
12 million.
So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And now we are in a situation that is super scary, that the government has said, okay, it's your responsibility what will happen. Because they are asking to continue in quarantine, but the problem is that 70% of the people, they don't have a formal job. They live their day by selling things on the street.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are more than 2 months kind of like stopped. The economy has stopped. And in November, we have this issue, political issue with the government, that we also were closed and everything was stopped for another month. So in Bolivia, it's super tough because in less than 6 months or in less than 4 months, we've been stopped for now by 3 months and a half. Like the economy is gonna collapse, and people like now it's super scary because people say, okay, should I stay at home and don't have anything to eat, or should I get the virus? Yeah. So it's a very tough question, and
I think
for the government
the Bolivian economy as well. The Bolivian economy was already in a difficult position a little bit because of the political unrest that's been happening over the last 12, 18 months, and maybe even longer if you want to go back about some of the political decisions. And this on top of it must be really worrying. Like must be quite stressful.
Yeah, for example, and you've been in Caranavi, the government has invested more in soccer fields. We have amazing stadium in Caranavi, for example. We have a stadium that is for 35,000 people, and in Caranavi only live 15,000, and there is just one hospital that doesn't have a ventilator, that doesn't have the basic things.
Yeah.
So that's the main issue. And another thing is that we have a president that is in transit, that cannot take like big decisions because he's on transit.
Yeah.
And people are like, it's difficult because she has to take big decisions, but at the same time, people said, you can't take big decisions because you are just on transit.
So that's just because she came to power. Yeah. So she came to power during the unrest of Evo Morales and the things that he was trying to do, and she's kind of like temporary until there were the elections, which were meant to be coming up later in the year, weren't they? But obviously, Corona coming in has really changed things, and I think it's a super difficult thing to get your head around, just about how many challenges Bolivia has had over definitely the last 12 months, but certainly over the last 10, 15 years, it's been a real challenge. And then the Corona coming and putting the extra pressure on the economy, it must be a really nerve-wracking time for what the outcomes are. I wanted to talk a little bit about Caranavi. You said about it being encapsulated, so people can't come in and can't go out. I guess there must be essential supplies still coming from La Paz, so food, I'm thinking, and medicines and things like that. How does that happen there? Is there like a handover point or something, or are people just using what they have within and things are running short?
The food, Caranavi produce many things.
Yeah.
like all the meat, and some veggies are bringing from La Paz. And the trucks are allowed to get in, but only the drivers that people know.
Okay.
But for example, if somebody else that the community, because as you know, in Caranavi, everything works as a community justice.
Yes.
And Caranavi is a very complicated town. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I think 1 week ago, the doctors came to Caranavi because there was one case from a guy that he was a driver and he was bringing things to Caranavi. And then the people, the community in Caranavi were saying, no, and the doctors were staying in a hotel, and then all the town from Caranavi went to the hotel, and they were saying that the doctors have to leave or they will fire the hotel because they could have the virus and they could spread the virus in Caranavi. And the doctors were like, but we came here to help, like to work, because there's the first case here. And the people that had the case, he was saying, no, I don't have the disease. I don't have the virus. And they were taking again the test and it was positive. And he was like, no, I don't have. And then again, so they make like 3 times the test. They were scaring, like they were saying, screaming outside of the hotel that the doctors have to leave. And then the doctor said, okay, you don't need us. You don't want us to stay. Okay, we are leaving. We are returning back to La Paz. And they were in the bus, all the doctors. And then all the town in Caranavi, all the people started to scream, no, please stay. It was a mistake. We need you. And
I think that's the thing, is that I think it's that just not knowing about, you know, how dangerous the virus could be and things like that, and miscommunication. It's not like the people of Caranavi, you know, watch the news every day or have, you know, everybody has access to the internet or things like that. So it's a little bit about hearing somebody from a neighbour or hearing something from a friend, and then, you know, kind of coming up with it. Do you think education, like the kind of education of how dangerous the virus can be for some people, and washing your hands, keeping your distance, is getting through to the people of Bolivia now?
Yeah, that's the main issue, that the education. For example, there are some people that are saying that the virus was sent by Americans.
Yeah.
And that the virus doesn't exist, that this is just media, that the government, the new government, is doing this because they want to keep us inside of our places, so they don't believe in the virus. So especially in La Paz, in the city, in El Alto, people were not, they were going out to the markets. And in Caranavi, for example, the education is terrible, because especially for us, it's gonna be a challenge to make them understand that they have to be cleaning their hands, that they have to take many measures, because it's a lot of hygienic, the virus that you have to take. So it's trying to teach them a different way of living. And also, as you know, here, Latin people, we always give hugs and kisses.
Yeah.
And even for us, for my family, it's hard when somebody comes to your place and you are like standing and saying hi, and you don't know how to react.
Yeah.
So keeping distance.
Daniela, all of the things that you're mentioning about people saying the virus doesn't exist, it's come from China or America, it's made up, and the hygiene things and what to do when you meet somebody, I think that's the world everywhere. We're exactly the same here in Sweden and in the UK, and we don't know how to do it. I've never washed my hands as much in my life, and I think I'm fairly hygienic. But like now, I'm doing it so often that my hands are getting sore. We're all getting used to that new difference. But I think there are challenges in somewhere like Caranavi that, you know, you might not have so many hand washing facilities in, you know, you don't everywhere, and the alcohol gel may not be as readily available, and the definite challenges there. For sure. But just in regards to the producers and your family and everybody else, is everybody keeping safe? Is everybody well? You know, it's nobody, nothing like with the people who we know and see every time we come and visit you in Bolivia.
Yes, maybe I can share with you some images of the producers.
Oh gosh, that'd be lovely. Yes,
you can. Yeah, I think that you have to allow me to share.
Now you're asking me to do something very technical here. Share screen, multiple. There we go. I think I may have done the technology.
Yes.
No, I mean, I think, you know, for me and everybody has been in a zone, we're constantly thinking about, you know, how this affects people at the places that we visit so often, and you know, that we work with like yourself. And I think it's a really interesting insight you're giving us into just, you know, the challenges, but actually they're probably the challenges we're all experiencing. Oh. Oh, wow.
So, Carmelita.
I was going to say, is that Carmelita with the face mask on? I can't quite tell. Yeah, you can still tell.
Then we have Julio Gonzalez.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Where's Juana?
Here you can see yeah, maybe she's at the house.
Yeah.
Keeping things. Then we have maybe on the picture on the left, you can see the trucks. Now they don't have the taxis; they have bigger trucks because they have bigger volumes now.
Fantastic.
But even the trucks are having some distance.
Yeah. Wow. So for people who are watching the video, at the mill in Caranavi was traditional that people would send their coffee in the taxis, and there would be a line of taxis waiting at the mill in the evening to drop off all the coffee. But since the increase in production with your farms, and then people seeing what you've been doing on the Los Rodriguez farms and Sol de la Mañana, this is the kind of volumes that are coming out now that weren't coming out before. So this is, and I love what you're doing with these plastic trays. I think 4 farms that we visited outside of Bolivia are now starting to do what you're doing with these crates. Because talk about hygiene, you can just wash them down, and where before they would go in a bag that would get all of the slime and the juices, you can just wash these down at the end of the day, can't you?
Yes. These are the first cherries from Finca La Linda.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Yeah. Drying some cocoa naturals. Most of the production now from this first harvest, we are doing naturals.
Yeah.
So the cherries are super, super nice. The quality is amazing.
So cool.
And talking about the highest mill in the world, I think that we are at 3,600 meters. This
Crazy.
is our working. In this place, we've been affected a lot because our dry mill has been closed for 2 months and a half because it's in the city, and it was hard to move the people from the different neighborhoods, and also in the cities are more rules that you have to follow. So we have the distance with the workers, and you can see how they are going to work with all the security mask and all the security that they need to be protected. So they are started working from 7 to 2. And we as a company, we are picking everybody from their houses, taking 2-hour meal and then driving back home. So they don't go out they don't take like a public transportation, or they don't go any elsewhere. So it's just office, house.
Wow.
And with the distance, it's so strange to see people like wearing and.
I think the distance thing, I really do feel. I think that whole Latin American, I notice it much more being English, because we're very much about our distance, and people just don't have the same kind of thing. Particularly, Bolivia, I always kind of like people just brush past, and having had that re-education for us all is difficult. I can't imagine not. Like seeing you, your dad and your brother and giving you hugs, but that's going to be different for a little while. So oh, this is beautiful. What a picture.
Yeah, and this is Finca Las Citas.
Yeah.
And a part of the virus, there are good news and new things that we are doing. We will have this harvest the first stainless steel tanks that for new process that we will do. So we will have a lot of new surprises, new flavors.
And this is in Caranavi?
We will have 2 tanks in Caranavi and another 2 tanks in Samaipata.
Wow.
Because in Samaipata, yeah. Because as you know, in Samaipata, we have the variety garden with 60 varieties.
Yeah.
So the idea is to try also with these exotic varieties, the new process, new fermentations.
Oh, amazing.
These tanks, because we are working with 2 enologists, they have designed the tanks special for coffee. So together we have adapted a fermentation type that the wine industry use, but this one is adapted for coffee. The size, the capacity, the piles and everything.
Amazing.
So, for example, we are doing this is a TSR. We are doing a different kind of fermentation. You can see the color of the cherries. We are doing some lactic fermentations and
Well, you know how much I love the TSR, so be good to see that.
Yeah, this is a Java, first Java.
Amazing. I really like that the way the llama has his face mask on as well. That's very good social distancing. He's been listening to the messages.
Yeah. Use the mask, but keep drinking coffee.
Need to find a straw hole. Wow, that looks beautiful.
Then another thing that for us is very important is always being sustainable with the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, taking care of the environment for us is important. So we are 2 years ago we have started with reforestation in all our farms and also working with the producers of Sol de la Mañana. The idea is that they can plant trees that maybe in the future they can sell, and they can pay the education of their kids with the trees and replant the trees, so they can have an extra income. And you never know with the weather and with the nature what will happen a year. So maybe it can be like kind of also diversify from one product to another one.
Yeah.
That is also that we are working with the program of Sol de la Mañana, trying to see that they also diversify with another thing, apart of coffee. Because now the farms are kind of established. This is gonna be the second, or in some cases the third year of the full harvest. And they are, this year is pruning. And if they pass the pruning test and understand that it's very important to prune, the next steps is also to develop with another trees.
And just for context, I think for people watching that may not know, so pruning is really important. So you're able to maintain the yield from the coffee plants. And without that pruning, the plants just get old and tired and get in a really strange shape. But it's not common in old practices in Bolivia because you lose some of your harvest for 12 months, 18 months, and then all of a sudden, you get much more later. But there's always been a fear of, well, I'm not going to prune because I don't want to damage what yield I have now. Instead of, actually in the future, you're going to get a lot more yield from that pruning. The plant's going to be healthier. So yeah, I think the education of just the agronomy of coffee farming is something that's quite new to Bolivia, and I don't think really happened until you really started doing the farms and having the Sol de la Mañana project, and you flew in the agronomist from Costa Rica, that these things are starting to happen that never happened before. It's really impressive.
Yeah, Sol de la Mañana is like a school of 7 years, and now we are in the 6th year. And this year is working with them and teaching them how to prune, because in Bolivia the producers, they have never pruned their coffee plantations. So when you visit the old plantations, they are so wild and so high that they had to take a stick to get the cherries, because they were very high. And for a producer, I think that is the biggest decision when you see that your coffee tree is producing very good, the yield is super good, and you know that when you prune, the next year you will not have production. So it's difficult to say, okay, next year I will not get an income. Yeah. But what we are working with the producers is trying to teach them to have a plan of pruning, that every year they have to prune their coffee plantations, and but different lots, not all the.
So it's about just having every year keeping different sections rolling, so your production is more stable and you don't have those peaks and troughs. Because if you cut everything back, then yes, of course, that's going to have an impact. But if you're doing it in stages every year, it's just housekeeping for different parts of the farm.
Yeah, and with that, you can't have the same income every year.
Yeah, and it sounds so obvious, but I know from when I first started coming to Bolivia and visiting the farms with you guys, that these things, the agronomy advice just wasn't there, and it's something that's very new to Bolivian farmers. So no, I think it's really amazing that the work that's been done with the Sol de la Mañana project, and you and your family should be incredibly proud of the investments you've made in Bolivian coffee. Yeah. These are amazing photos. Daniela, you're making me, this is the time of year where I start booking my flights to come to Bolivia. And obviously this year is going to be one of the first years I've missed in a long time, and seeing all these photos are making me feel even worse.
No, but we will make, as you are here with a lot of videos and yeah.
Well, the problem is next year when everything opens up, I'm coming for a very long time. So
Yes. We're gonna miss you. It's gonna be after what, more 15 years that you are coming in without you skipping.
yeah, no, honestly, it feels so strange seeing these photos and knowing I won't be there this year. It's such an important trip for me every year, just to I feel like I know Caranavi as well as I know Stafford, where Has-Been is. So these are just amazing photos. Who's the photographer amongst you all? Who takes these? Is this all you?
Yeah, some are our pictures.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, so everybody is super excited about this harvest. Sol de la Mañana, yeah, they were being excited, like waiting for this harvest, so they are still with all the motivation to keep this harvest going, and we will do everything that is possible that we can do to have the coffees and to continue.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a message that I would like to echo, is that, you know, that although COVID's changed a lot of things, there are still people like yourself and the family, but also the Sol de la Mañana people that are relying on people to still drink good coffee. You know, they've made investments and put their energies, just as you and the family have, into the farms. And I think it's really important to continue to support the great work that's already been done, because these were the years where it was meant to come to fruition, and there was all of this extra coffee because of the investments and hard work that's been put in. We can't let a virus stop that. You know, it's that people still need to buy good coffee and make sure that everybody benefits from that.
Yeah, that was the main concern also for Sol de la Mañana producers, because they've seen the news that what is happening around the world, and they were like, what will happen with our coffee? And we were saying, continue with the harvest. We are here. We are not gonna stop, and we will buy the coffee. We will process the coffee, and people need to continue drinking coffee.
Yes, we will find a way for this to work.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that in all the crises there are opportunities and many things that we have to learn, and that will make us stronger. And together we will make it, like continue with the harvest and find the ways to make it work. I think that's it.
I couldn't agree more, Daniela, and that feels like an absolutely perfect place to finish this on a positive. I knew I could rely on you to bring me a positive note somewhere in these terrible times, and that's exactly it. Is that we're all learning from this, and I think there's some things that have come out of this that have been really good. I think people are caring for people a lot more, and people are being nicer to each other and taking time to make sure everybody's okay. And I hope we keep those things and we learn from what's happened, and but also understand that the world is still spinning. There are still coffee producers in Caranavi and Samipatia and in all of the different, all over the world, that are still relying on people to drink great coffee. And hopefully we'll all come out of this much stronger and much more positive. Thank you. You are an absolute inspiration. You and the family. Please, lots of love to everybody there. Send all of the warmest wishes from Has-Been and Ozone customers, and I really hope to be there sometime soon.
Yes. No, thank you to you, Stephen. It was a pleasure to talk and share what is happening here in Bolivia.
Fantastic. Keep safe, And yes, we shall see each other soon.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Thanks, Steve, but most importantly, thanks, Daniela. So this week's coffee comes from the farm La Linda, which is based in Caturra. Now, coffee production in Bolivia was traditionally concentrated in the youngest region, subtropical, huge vegetation, amazing environmental conditions, help produce amazing quality Bolivian. Caturra is located in the north of the La Paz department. It's 150 kilometres from the city, but it really is now the centre of coffee production within Bolivia. It's got super fertile soils, it's got absolutely phenomenal altitude, and really just kind of people that are producing some very, very special coffees. Now, due to the many complications and challenges of the Bolivian coffee industry, many of the smaller farms that we used to work with in the past are no longer producing coffee. And while that created lots of challenges for us, working with Agrocafe and most importantly the Rodriguez family, they started to buy farms and invest in farms themselves. So the producers that were disappearing that used to deliver to their mill, they decided to replace by having their own farms and really invest in. La Linda was one of the first of these farms, and really has been kind of bringing us coffee now for 3-4 years. La Linda is also known for its amazing seed garden that feed the other varieties on the farms throughout the Rodriguez farms. Alongside this Caturra lot, they produce Longbury, Cataí, Typica, Java, SL28, Bourbon, and a tiny bit of Ethiosar. These are all completely new plants to Bolivia, and this is because of the Rodriguez's excitement to experiment and to taste. So now we should go back to Steve to do the tasting and see what he thinks of this coffee. Thank you, Virtual Steve, but more importantly, thank you to Daniela. Daniela is an amazing person who I've got to know more and more over the last 15 years, and seen her grow as a coffee professional, but also see her just grow as a super talented businesswoman, and they really have built an amazing business there that produces amazing coffee. So let's get into... The thing about this coffee is it's super chocolatey, very rounded, very kind of smooth and sweet, and can't help but think of Cadbury's chocolate. Now, I'm not 100% sure if I kind of go with the Cadbury's dairy milk or whether I think it's Cadbury's whole nut. I know they're the kind of same, but there is a lovely hazelnut note that comes through that just kind of pulls me towards the whole nut. Very sweet, very clean, excellently processed. These Caturra plants are not so old, and they're really just starting to come into the maturity of kind of being really good coffees. So I'm a massive fan. Thank you for joining me as always, and do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.